guys, and welcome to the channel. This is High Country Dan, and we are in the backcountry of Montana, archery elk hunting. September, my favorite time of year. Today we're going to do a brief 5-minute, hopefully, video review of the newish Crispi Altitude GTX hunting boot. I picked up these boots about 2 weeks ago. So this is my second week in these boots, and I'm on a backpack hunt here in Montana. First time I used them was just a weekend hunting excursion, 3 days out. And I wanted to give you an update on the boot itself and give you a review, a very brief history of me and my boot experience. 45 years old. I've wore a lot of different boots over the years, and I've been a huge fan of the new Crispi line of boots. Currently, I own the new GTX, the new Birksdale 2s, the GTX, Mountain GTX version of that boot. I've had the Crispi Wyoming 2s. I've had the Crispi Nevadas. I've had the Crispi, the insulated ones. Sorry, my brain is going blank. I'll put it in text. And I love their boots. They're great boots. And I was hoping that the new Altitude would kind of bridge the gap between the Laponias, the Laponia 2, and the Birksdales. I got the Birksdales last spring and used them all bear hunting, and I love the Birksdales. They're obviously a full-size boot, and I was looking for something for this fall that would be a little bit lighter weight than the Birksdales. And a little more supportive than the Laponias. I did buy a pair of the Laponias, and they ended up, I just didn't like the way they fit on my feet. They gave me a weird arch pain. And so I got rid of those and picked up the Altitudes. So I'm going to show you some stuff about the Birksdale, or about the Altitudes that I love. And I'm going to show you some things about the Birksdale, or the Altitudes, the Altitudes that I hate. And I think this is what you're going to want to see, because ultimately I think this is what kills the Altitude for a Western backcountry hunting boot. It's really sad and unfortunate, because I like the boot, but it doesn't just fit the needs of what I was looking for. So let's take a look at the boot. Alright guys, so here is the boot itself, and I do apologize, they're a little muddy. Like I said, I've been using them for a couple of weeks, and I think it's given me a good opportunity, both in wet, muddy, and dry conditions, to use this boot. One of the things that I really like about this boot with all Crispis is that the traction is great. It really works really well. You don't really find yourself slipping around much. And the style of the boot is pretty nice. I like the way this boot looks, although Crispis tend to have this weird, like, long foot or toe area, and so it makes you feel like you have giant feet, and I don't have giant feet. But that's just kind of the style of the boot. The quality of the materials is pretty standard for Crispi, you know, top-notch quality. I really like the full rand all the way around this boot, and I like how it's kind of a rough texture. It seems to be holding up really well. This side's a little bit muddier. I did a creek crossing this morning, a small creek crossing with my gaiters, and feet stayed nice and dry. But let's get down to the nuts and bolts of why I think this boot is an epic fail. So I only have two hands, and I'm using the camera to hold one, so I'm going to unlace these really quick, and I'm just going to pull it loose so that you can see why. I'm going to have to cut so I can use both hands to do that, and I'll show you in just a second. Alright guys, we're back, and as you can see, I've loosened up the laces, and other than that, I really haven't touched them in any other way. So now I'm going to show you what I think is the real problem with these boots and what makes them an epic fail. So I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm just going to pull this leather back. And as you can see, look at the amount of grass seeds and debris and dirt gets lodged up inside of here. It's absolutely unreal. And this is, I cleaned these out yesterday. So this was just hiking up the mountain this morning. That's that side. Let's see this side. This side's not quite as bad. Still got some in there. See if I can open it up so you can see it. Yeah. This one's not as bad as the other side, but there's still a lot in there. Now, anybody that's ever hiked and hunted in the mountains knows that these little grass seeds will penetrate and work their way into everything. And once you get them in there, they're barbed and they're incredibly difficult to get out. And so the problem is that these things absolutely destroy Gore-Tex waterproofing, which means these boots are probably not going to stay waterproof for more than a couple of hunts. I'm gonna grab my pocket knife here and start digging that stuff out so you can see it. Alright, so I'm just gonna start kind of working my knife in here, cleaning this stuff out so you can see how much stuff is actually in there. Look at all that. Tell me that's good for your boot. I mean, that's just nuts. That is not good for your boot. And the other thing I discovered in my other boot is that whether it's a manufacturer's defect or whether it's from all this stuff going in the boot, is that the boot is actually separated right here where all these little guys are. I was cleaning them out. The stitching isn't even, this material is not even sewn right here in this seam to this piece. So this material is not attached to this material. So there's a gap, which means I'm certain that it's going to leak as well. Let's try to get all these little guys out of here. No, it wasn't for me using my knife to clean it out. It was that way. But like, look at that, guys. So, there you have it. Crispi Altitude. Alright. Okay. So, as far as comfort goes with the Altitude, I would rate them compared to my Birksdales and the other Crispis that I've owned. Flex rate is right about a 3. Good and stiff for backpack hunting, and still flexible enough to where you can sneak and not feel like you're wearing a really heavy, stiff boot that isn't going to feel the ground. But comfort's not as much as my Birksdales. There's a weird pinch point right in the eyelet of or kind of in the corner of the boot, right above the orange tab that's kind of rubbed me raw the last couple of days. It seems to break in a little bit better, and it's not as bad as it was the last couple of days. So maybe they're just breaking in a little more, and I'm not feeling that as much, but they're definitely not as comfortable as my Birksdales. My feet get a lot more fatigued in these. I've put in these boots alone. So I did 18 miles on Saturday last week in them. I'm sorry, that's not true. I did like 13 miles on Saturday, and I did 18, almost 19 on Sunday. And then Friday, I did about 8 miles. Saturday, we did 14 miles, and yesterday I did 13 and a half, something like that. I'd have to go back and look exactly. So, I mean, I've got a lot of miles on these boots, having them only 2 weeks. So you do the math. I think that's probably close to 50-ish miles. And my feet are just super fatigued at the end of the day and sore, as compared to my Birksdales. My Birksdales don't get quite that sore. So that's a review of the Crispi Altitude. Would I buy it again? Probably not. I'll look forward to seeing what they come out with next. And I'm a blue collar guy. These are expensive boots for me. I can't buy a pair of these every year. Although it sounds like I've had a lot of them, I have, but I'm disappointed, and I wouldn't buy them again just because of the features and the problems that I showed you. They're the waterproof. There's no way the waterproofing is going to last very long in the tongue area of these boots, given that problem. And I'll be shocked if they stay waterproof through the rest of this weekend, to be honest with you. And other than that, if I have any problems or more updates to report, I will do that. Sorry I didn't keep this video around 5 minutes. That was my goal. But we're somewhere around in there. So good luck to you guys this season. I hope you're having a great season hunting. And we'll see you next time on the channel, High Country Outdoors. Thanks for watching.
Few moments later, a few minutes later, a few inches later, 12 seconds later, 3 days later, 3 weeks later, many months later.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. This is High Country Dan, and I'm here to wrap up my review video that I started during archery season with the Crispi Altitude GTX. As I shared with you guys just a moment ago in the previous video, one of the concerns that I had with this boot was that it tends to kind of trap debris and stuff under this leather rand here on the tongues. Kind of an update to my last video was that I had predicted that it was likely that these boots might start to leak because of the design here and how they trap debris underneath this part of the rand. And unfortunately, my predictions came true. I used this boot, like I said, last weekend on Saturday here in Montana on the rifle hunt. And there was probably 3 to 6 inches of snow on the ground. And I wore them with my Peaks gaiters. And by the end of the day on Saturday, so I wore them Friday night. Friday night really didn't have any issues. Dried them out in the truck, just literally under the heat of the truck motor going while I was sitting in the truck having dinner. At least dried out the leather part of it for the most part. And then Saturday hunted in them all day. I put on like 13 miles, I think, on Saturday. And unfortunately, the boots leaked. My feet got completely wet, like soaked to the bone wet. So the fact that they leaked and both my feet got wet in both boots was really disappointing. So I haven't touched these boots since last weekend, other than just kind of brushed them off a little bit. I did reach out to Crispi, and I'm actually going to send these boots back today. And I wanted to do this video before I send them back to them, because hopefully they're going to inspect them, check them out, and then hopefully I can get a warranty on them. But I haven't touched them other than that, and I want to just open one of the boots up and let's just see what kind of debris, if any, is in there, since the last video that I took was pretty much the last time I cleaned them out, and I've only worn them twice since then. So let's pull these laces out here, and we'll do this on camera so you guys can kind of see what we're looking at here, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing. See if I can move it around here a little bit. You guys can see how much debris is trapped up in there. So obviously that's the issue, in my opinion, because that seems to be where the waterproofing failed, is in the tongue here. And so again, is it a bad boot? No, it's not a bad boot. I actually really like the boot. And I like the design of it. It's a cool looking boot. It's moderately comfortable. Like I said, it's just not quite as comfortable as my Birksdales. It's quite possible though. I mean, I've got, I don't know, a couple 100 miles probably on my Birksdales at least. And so it could be that these are just not broken in as well as they should be. So overall, would I recommend this boot? I guess it depends. If you're going to use this boot in dry conditions only, and it's an early season boot, and there's probably no chance that you're going to experience any moisture, snow, rain, or anything like that, then it's still a pretty good boot. But for the price point of this boot, for being almost $400, I expect more. They're Gore-Tex boots. As you can see, it's labeled Gore-Tex. They should be waterproof. And I think that it's probably a pretty solvable issue if the stitching was just a little bit higher up on these, so that it didn't trap all that debris down in there. But there's an inch, a room of, I can stick my thumb completely up, the first knuckle of my thumb up underneath there. And so, it just gets trapped with debris in there. And those little grass seeds, I'm gonna pull this one apart and clean it out. Those little grass seeds just get everywhere. And yeah, this one's just filled. Show you again, and not that you need to see it anymore, but it's just completely filled with grass seeds and debris in there. So that stuff's gonna eventually wear out the waterproofing on your boots, and obviously it's not going to be very helpful. So anyway, long story short, I don't know that I would recommend this boot. I think it's kind of an epic fail in terms of design for the waterproofing. Otherwise, the boot is a good boot, and I hope that Crispi, if any of the Crispi guys are watching, or the Black Ovis guys are watching, it's a great boot. It just has that design design failure, in my opinion, that's going to keep this boot for waterproofing. So I'm hoping Crispi will send me a new pair. I think they've got a great warranty. This is, I don't know, I have 4 pairs of Crispi sitting here. This is the first pair I've ever had any issues with, and I fully expect that Crispi will probably warranty these, hopefully, and send me a new pair. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to use the new pair in any kind of wet conditions. I even wore gaiters with these during elk season. The second time I wore them, I specifically bought gaiters to keep the little grass seeds out, and that did help some, but not enough, unfortunately. So guys, thanks for watching. Do me a favor, hit the like button. I know it's kind of cliche to every video that you watch, people say hit the like and subscribe, but it helps the channel. So give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. I'll happily answer them. Again, I'm not dogging on Crispi. They're great boots. I love Crispi boots. This is, I think, my 4th or 5th pair. I just think we have a little bit of a lemon in the design feature of the Altitudes right now, and Crispi's usually pretty good about updating their boots and coming out with new products each year and making their products better. Hopefully they watch this as an opportunity to improve this boot, so that it doesn't continue to have waterproofing issues. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. High Country Down. I'm out.